Hey, my guest today needs no introduction in the world of virtual training facilitation. Kassy LaBorie is the voice around making online training fun and engaging, and has really carved out a place at the top as a speaker on this topic. More recently, she has started to rebrand herself into becoming a keynote speaker as she climbs her way to the top. In my small corner of the world, I know her as that person who famously said to Betty Danowitz, "You know, Loki is like every learner." And then Betty turned around and made my favorite series of podcasts that Betty has ever produced, the LOKI series on the If You Ask Betty podcast. All that aside, it brings me great joy and excitement to welcome to the GAMELAYER the leader of the Virtual Training Hero Hangout, the keynote speaker, Kassy LaBorie. Hey, welcome to GAMELAYER, where we explore the science of play and the quest of learning. I am your host, David Colmer. Theme music by Caleb Willits. Welcome down to GAMELAYER.
I play piano.
I play chess.
I play everything.
I play games of my own invention.
I'd like to move to the domain of play.
Kassy LaBorie, thank you so much for joining me and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, David. I'm so happy we're finally here and we're doing this.
Do you want to just give a quick intro on what you're into now? I know that you're moving towards becoming a keynote speaker.
Yeah, it's going really well. It's exciting, all the things I've learned. I am a trainer. I love training.
Right.
In fact, I've been leaning into, as a keynote speaker, I'm the trainer's trainer. So I had this whole identity crisis that I went through. Like, a trainer is not a keynote speaker. But wait, no, not only is it a keynote speaker, but it's the trainer's trainer as a keynote speaker. And so it's been a real interesting exploration of continuing the work that I love to do, which is teaching people how to become amazing trainers and to love this as much as I do. And then taking that message more broadly to the keynote stage and reaching out to like how we connect in a tech-driven world, because my training career has been very much about tech and helping people get that out of the way so they can get to the humanity. And so I've been working on making that a bigger and broader message while continuing my training business as well. So lots of exciting things, and I'm still on that journey and learning new things each day.
I love the train the trainer thing. That's what I'm going to pull out of all that, just because that's kind of come up in a lot of my instructional design work recently, where, you know, you're trying to make something that's going to spread, right? Make something that's contagious.
I was talking about it earlier with a friend today. She's a presenter and speech leader. You know, she teaches people how to present, and she's in France. And a lot of her work is around language and understanding. But long story short, we were talking about just how often the art of the performance, the art of the actual moment of speaking, sometimes gets lost in the process of training. Like, as I'm doing research further now on what it means to do train the trainer, you know, at different levels, I'm kind of surprised at how a lot of that content is more what I would officially label as instructional design, or even to a certain extent development. And it's kind of like we focus on like one of the objectives is writing great learning objectives. And I'm like, yes, for the designer, but what about when the trainer is... It's more about the interpretation of why that matters and how we bring that to life is where I am interested. And it isn't a place that always gets attention. We will be what I'm learning. And I don't think this is like a hard and fast rule for everyone. But what I'm learning is that there's a lot more attention on the written and the development process than there is on what we do to perform and bring that to life in front of a live audience.
Yeah. As a bachelor's in theater, you're really speaking my language, right? I had to read all the Shakespeare in school,
right from the
but
get-go.
It was really all about how is this going to be realized on stage, and so that's right in my wheelhouse, 100%.
Yeah, like what part of the room will you be standing in when you deliver that moment, and then where will you put the pause? How many breaks and beats do you have after that question? Well, these are the things that I can get nerded out about.
For sure, yeah. You're going to dim the lights. How are you going to pitch that thought? Right? What tone of voice? Fast pace? Slow pace?
Yeah,
that all really matters, right?
Yeah, all of it matters, and I do think it's ultimately the difference between something that is engaging and not engaging. And I'm not going to say that engaging is the end all be all, but if you don't have it, then we have a real problem.
Yeah, it's a foundational thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting. I know we were kind of talking first about you being on this program, Game, and it has the word game in it. And you said, but wait, I'm not a gamer. And my response was, well, neither am I.
Yeah.
And I think that the whole idea of having gamified learning environments really is that same foundational thing of engagement. Having an activity where people are engaged.
Action-based learning.
Yeah.
The performance of learning. How do we perform as we are learning? What will that look like, act like, feel like once we put it into play?
And blurring that same kind of line, where I think with instructional design, I started the idea, and on the other end, as we're actually realizing the idea, there's a spectrum there. And we can blur the line. Sometimes the designer goes this far, sometimes they go further, past the 50% mark, and sometimes the trainer has to reach back. And I've done both roles, so I can totally relate to that idea. And I think for me, it's really fun to design something and then present it.
Is partly what, I come to learning and development as a trainer, as an actor who decided to get a job. And so
Same.
then I learned more. I leaned into what is this that has been handed to me and why are some better than others? This script, if you will, which is a training manual.
Yeah.
Why do some work and why do others not work? And what I learned very quickly was the ones that were thoughtfully put together with instructional design methodologies in place allowed me to have a better performance. I was even better at it. I wasn't scrambling. I wasn't just getting the laugh. I had a purpose for that, and we would debrief that and bridge that. And so I have such a deep level of respect for the instructional design and designers in my life who have taught me. And that's why I love to carry that through. And any train the trainer program that I deliver is very much about respecting the design, interpreting it, bringing it to life. And when you do not understand, doing that research and finding out what it is meant to be. Don't just make it up and think you know everything.
Yeah, and you're making me think of the through line, right? When you do like a play analysis, there's always that through line of the story. It's so similar to having the training is all pointing back to that learning goal. You're making a point, you're making an argument. And so people are going to get it because it all adds up. Whereas I think I've worked with some design work where it's like there's just all these ideas and they're not pointing towards any actual learning objective, really.
Right. I know.
You can
I
get
think
lost,
that
right?
It does. And I remember, early on in my training career getting feedback. Well, that was fun, but all we did was have fun, and I'm like, okay, so wait a second. And that, and I had thought we built in the fun for a reason, but I learned pretty quickly I had to be like, I'm going to take the lead on that survey.
Yeah.
That actual line is a line that I now lead on. And I say, all right,
Awesome.
So that was fun. Why do we do it? And it is explicitly in my training moments. And I go, yeah, we had fun, but let's talk about why we had fun, how we brought that to that moment, what the impact of that moment is, what will the potential impact be? And I take it really far from there. We had fun and... We had fun and. We had fun and. We had fun and.
I love it. And that you're making me think of when I first got into education. I had a theater degree. I went over to Thailand. I started teaching high school, and then I got a job teaching in first grade. And I had all this fun. I had all the, we're going to color this, and I'm going to teach you this art thing I did when I was a kid. And I mean, the idea was we should tie it back to a moment of learning. And I was pretty bad at that.
We don't
really
know,
good at the
right?
fun
We get
part.
really wrapped up in the moment of the fun. And then when you become a learning and development professional who cares deeply about it, if you become that, and, no judgment if you don't, but if you do, then you realize I need to not take for granted or make an assumption about their experience, because people do very much get wrapped up in how they feel, and we want them to, how they feel and how they're experiencing something, and they may not understand the meaning. They may not get it. In fact, I would put money on most of the time they don't ever get it. And so it's up to me to help them get it. That's actually the job. It's not the delivery of the fun. I mean, it is certainly the facilitation of the fun, but it's got to have the meaning behind it.
Yes.
And that's why I have so much respect for instructional design and experience design and all the different ways that people design today. Why I love learning about it, and I don't do it. I learn from those that are great at doing it, and I bring it to life. That is where my heart lives. And when I see stuff that's designed so well, I'm like, oh, I nailed that objective. I'm going to do the same. I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I love that you're so aware of that and you've embraced that so wholeheartedly. That just fills my cup to hear that, because I feel like I kind of dance around it a little bit. I did the same thing when I got into theater. I was an actor, and then I did tech, and then now I'm a teacher, and I'm getting into design. And I think I just have a hunger to learn constantly. So it's always like, I got to find something new.
Oh, that's cool, though.
I'm learning stuff, and I like that.
Yeah, so. I like that. I like that about your personality, actually, too. So,
thanks.
I
appreciate that.
We bring to the table what we bring, right? And we honor it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit spontaneous, and I can
people respond to it when you honor it.
Yeah.
You're like...
It's true.
You're like, I'm spontaneous, and people are like, oh, I wish I was. You know what I mean?
I know, right? It's like, that's my Achilles heel. And they're like, oh, I wish I had that Achilles
I wish I could do that better. I'm so planned. I can't operate without a spreadsheet. You know what I mean?
I'm like, Excel
who? The spreadsheet would ground me.
Yeah. It would hold me back. No, something we had talked about earlier, and even punched it, the idea of play, right? And this is obviously more about games. The concept is GAMELAYER. But in this season, I'd really like to just peel that back and look behind the curtain of games. And why do you think you're compelled to play? Or when I say the word play, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I like that you put the word play in it, because like you, we talked about this game. Yeah. I'm like, is it going to be like, are there rules? Know. But as soon as you say play, I'm like, oh, I'm here. I'm in. And there's something about play that I think is connected more to creativity and freedom and maybe a lack of rules. And when I hear game, I think, oh, I got to learn the rules.
We've added rules. Sure.
Not that I'm not capable of it, but I just kind of would rather not. Sure. And so there's something about play that says, let's just explore. Like, there's no pressure, and we get to discover. And I thrive quite well in environments like that. And then I do like to go from there, though. It's not that I don't like order. I mean, I do. It's just maybe I don't lead with it. Yeah. I like to have the freedom to do something first. And then maybe once we discover, we'll put parameters and guidelines in place so that people can be clear and then ultimately successful in a repeat. But I'm initially drawn to the concept of play because of the freedom and creativity. Whereas if I hear game, I'm like, I'll let y'all do that. There's rules, right?
There's rules. I'm actually the same way, and it's interesting you just used the word exploring, because there's a Professor Bartle who did like the 4 types of game players. There's the explorer, the achiever, the killer, and then there's one other, I don't even remember it. The 4th one is the socializer, right? So for me, I would really see you as an explorer, maybe not a killer at all. I don't want to put words in your mouth. When you hear those 4 words, you've already kind of said explorer. Is there another one that jumped out to you?
Well, socializer, of course it did, because I'm like, talk. Now, let me tell you something here. When you said killer, though, in the last couple of years, I've discovered that I am a gym rat. I love working out now, and I never was that person before. There's a whole story. I had a similar
transition. Yeah, okay, go for it.
And I recently, we do challenges at the gym that I attend.
I love it.
This recent challenge, we had to row.
I've seen you on Instagram doing this. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I just remember. I've seen these posts. Yeah.
Who am I?
I love it.
Look at me. I'm at the gym. I worked out. Yeah.
Right.
It's funny because we were doing a particular challenge on the rowing machine, and it was a team challenge. And so over a certain period of time, people had to row a certain amount or distance, and we had to see if our team could get the furthest within the designated amount of time. Well, it turns out that I ended up the anchor, is what you call it. I was the last one. And so when you said the killer, I went all out for so long. I had to get in my mind, and I had a girl next to me, she's like, you got this. I was like, I got this. And she's like, you only have to get to this number. And I'm like, I'm going to go 200 past it. Why? There was no reason. But not only did I want to win, but I wanted to make it really hard for anyone else to beat us. So there's a part of me there's the killer? There.
Yeah, I think so. There's another one there where you just want that win, right? And it's almost like vengeance. You want to knock someone else out so you can be
Not
first.
only did I win, but I've also made it so no one else can even come close.
I want you to
I
lose.
don't want to win by the skin of my teeth. I want to kill it.
So you have that in you. Yeah, and I think that's interesting. You mentioned leaning into things a little too earlier. And I think that's a big part of it. And doesn't that mean that we're growing?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't that uncomfortable change mean that, we're learning a new part of ourselves or
Yeah, if we're open to
finding
it,
a new best
I've
version?
been in this learning place it's like we're in the third year at this point where I'm just really exploring, like, how do I be the biggest and best version of myself? It's utterly terrifying. And a lot of times I just want to, hide under the covers with my favorite escapism type book that I'm reading, which actually I think I do that every night. But anyway, it's like being open to what are the assumptions that I'm making about myself that are wrong. Like when I say I don't like rules, well, I actually do really well as soon as I understand them and know them, and then I can even go and thrive within them. But what is it about me that says, I don't want to have to learn the rules? What is that?
What's really going on there? Yeah.
Why do I resist that? And I've been exploring such things, and maybe even you asking me this today is going to make me go, why do I immediately go no to that?
Is it a fear of losing?
I don't know.
It's interesting because I don't mean to push you on the spot. I'll put myself on the spot as well. In one of the earlier recordings, I was talking to Jonathan Peters, and he's an expert in this idea of the 16 personalities.
Yeah, those are interesting.
Yeah, one of them was status, and I ranked super low on status, like almost like off the charts low. But then when I think more about it, like, you know what? In certain ways, I really crave status. Like, in different ways than other people, maybe, but it's like maybe I'm embarrassed. Maybe I don't want that part of me to show.
I know, right? It's interesting to take.
It always comes up for me.
Did you do the 16 personalities assessment?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a big believer, too, that these assessments, tools for potentially understanding ourselves that day. Because seriously, you go take it the next day and you're like, I'm going to be a status queen. And you know what it is.
Yeah. No, it's the Reese Motivation Profile. I should call it by its name. And either way, it was by Dr. Reese, and it was meant to be the one that's the most repeatable and the most based on our fundamental psychology. These are like the 16 things that motivate us. So there's a lot of research and science behind it. But then at the same time, my argument is always, we're human beings and we're super complicated. And how many souls do I have passing through me just in this one podcast?
I know.
Kind of philosophical.
I think I've done that one before, and I remember liking my result, but I forgot which one it is. If I were to see all the names, I'd go, oh yeah, that's the one I remember. And I remember feeling like, yeah, that's totally me. Of course, every time I read anything, because honestly, you lean into it because you're interested, and so then you're like, yeah. That's me.
That's me right now, because I just had a good email and I feel good about myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, would they ever give you one where you don't feel good about yourself? Like, would there ever be
I just had a fight with my wife about something that's completely insignificant. I don't even remember why I'm mad, but I'm really mad. Like, and then there's a different result, right?
I was reading, it makes me think, like, is there an assessment out there that makes you feel bad? Like, I was reading,
Let's make it so.
Of making, those, the quotes that make you feel good, but then these are the ones that make you feel bad. I was reading this just last night, and one of them was, stop thinking, what did it say? Stop thinking you're not enough. You're actually too much.
Hey, that's mine. That's why they call me extra.
What you are is just fine for the rest of us. Enough is enough.
Yeah. David, maybe you should have less coffee.
Yeah. There was a whole list. I should have saved that post because it was really making me laugh at the absurdity of just how miserable we can be sometimes,
Well, we're definitely attracted to that. I know I'm listening to the Book of Joy now with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and that was something that came up recently, is how we're definitely attracted to art that's about sadness. So I'd like to quote you real quick, Kassy, and you said earlier, play is freedom. And I'd like to talk more about that, the concept. Why is play give you a sense of freedom?
Yeah, it goes back to play versus game. The game has the rules, but play is, don't worry about that. We're just going to play.
Yeah.
So there's like the word just goes with it a lot.
Just.
And the word just, I have a complicated relationship with that word because there's an element of like bringing it down when you use the word just. But I guess in this particular case, game has a formality where play is just without worry or rules. So there's something there that led to freedom for me. And I find that quite interesting that I even thought that, because I'm not going to say that I thought about that before you asked me. It was kind of one of these reactions in the moment. And
well, that's why I liked it, because it was so authentic and so real.
Yeah. I like it too. I think it's quite interesting. And then, what does that say? I know that, like, as a trainer, I like for the environments that I am leading to feel like we are exploring, that I don't want people to necessarily think that I know the answer, have the answer, and they must get it from me.
I share that. Yeah.
And that actually is why I've struggled in the keynote speaking arena and world, because a lot of keynote speakers are exactly like that. And I'm like, oh, am I supposed to be like that? But it isn't a comfortable place for me to be at all. I'm very much the person who's like, oh, I've had some stuff happen. I've learned some things. And here's what I've done. Let me share. What do you think? How might it work for you?
Yeah.
And I do well as a trainer in that world and like that. And so for me, trying to figure out how is that also a keynote speaker, that's the journey that I've. And I think people respond to it. I know they do. I have a whole career in it. And I'm figuring out how I can be that kind of speaker at a much broader and bigger,
So how do you do that? How do you do a keynote speech without having the answer, or without pushing the where you need to go with this idea, or where you need to land?
I think that it is about me, and I'm learning this, that it is about me having my perspective, but not necessarily saying that my perspective must be yours.
Okay.
And it's more of an offering rather than I know it. Here's what you all need to do. Hey, you, here's what you need to do. I am not going to ever be like that. I am more of a, hey, y'all, here's what happened. And this is what it did for me. And what I'm now doing as a result, thoughts. It's an offering rather than here's the way it is. But it's interesting. It's really just in the semantics, isn't it? Because there's so many keynote speakers out there that are offering us stuff too, and they're not necessarily telling us what to do. Mm-hmm. There's an audience for everyone and a different way to do it. And it really just has to do with, in my case, me being clear on what I love to do, and do I stand behind the way that I've shared it?
Yeah. I just thought of, like, and this is a little different, but just here's a path you could take. You don't have to take it, but it's worked for me, and here's why. Maybe you could explore part of that path. Just I don't know if that resonates with you. Yeah.
And I do think, though, that, like, people, when we're strong, they will respond to strength and clarity. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's like being enthusiastic, strong, clear, passionate about a specific idea. And one of the key things I've learned over the last couple of years, too, as I study this, is to not make these statements that are like, this is the way it is. Immediately, right. A great way to alienate people is to say, everyone is.
Right. Yeah, it makes me think of, like, trigger language, right? Like never or always. Or,
right. Those words that are like, like everything. What do they call that? It's got a specific name.
Well, I've heard it called, like, trigger language. So, like, you always do that, or you never do that.
Yeah, people never understand.
Name. People never understand.
Turn it to, a lot of times people don't truly understand this. They don't grasp it. Just to use those kinds of...
Did you just put me in a box, right?
Yeah. This is difficult for many to understand or put their head around. So let's dive into why that might be. And so then there's the option of, instead of saying, let's dive into why that is, let's dive into why that might occur. It's a place for people to go, that might be me, but maybe I don't want it to be me. And even if it is not 100% me, can I still learn from this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think, to me, that's just good training facilitation. Like, the way you're saying it is, because you have open-ended questions, you don't really want the answer. And I think it's an interesting differentiation than now pushing it into the keynote speaker perspective or arena. That's just interesting to me, because it can be the same thing, and it sounds like you're making it work.
I definitely, the more you figure out what makes you happy and who you are, the better you'll be at it, right? And then just figuring out, like, I think there's a part of me that's in a phase of unlearning all that I've learned, to call upon Yoda, you must unlearn all that you have learned. Yeah. Because sometimes, you get into a place where you're learning what it should be like from all the people that have done it and have had great success. And some of it's going to land and some of it's not. And so you've got to still put it together in your own way and figure out your path forward in your own unique way.
really is that first step of unlearning, because if you're still latched onto those old perspectives and worldviews, then there's no way you're going to learn.
Yeah.
So I think that's deep.
And maybe that's where play comes in too. Like, I'm going to play this. You know, you think about our theater background. Let's play it.
Okay.
Let's play it again. That didn't land.
Go dry reading. Yeah.
You know?
Let's see if we can make it land.
Yeah.
Let's explore different subtext.
Yep.
Explore different deliveries, right?
Yep.
I love
I know
that.
one of the assignments that I gave to trainers, I remember this is years ago when I worked at a different organization, not for myself. We were just playing with how we can present and create digital presence online. And one of the things I had them do was write their bios, their intros. Like, they had their bios, but now I'm talking about the spoken intro. And so first you write your bio, and then you have the spoken intro, and like, how are they different? So that was a whole exercise. But then I was like, okay, now go record your intro to the corporate setting. Go record your intro to, you're volunteering at the kindergarten. Or, there's different settings. And I can't remember the exact list, but it's like, you're going to use the same words, but it's going to be a little bit different each time. And in what way will that be different for you? Corporate setting versus the kindergarten setting.
It'll be different. Yeah, because you arrive with a different self, a different version of you, a little bit, right? And it's those given circumstances that really, really change it up. So I love that.
Yeah, I know. I just recently did it. It was a very subtle change where, I'm working corporate in the morning, and in the afternoon I volunteered to go be the guest speaker at a brand new college networking event. Hey. And these are students at the local university. They're engineering, computer science, those types of degrees. Students that are in their junior year, and they're creating a networking group. And so they brought me in as a local professional who owns their own business, and I had to go in there and just say hello to them and talk to them about what we were going to be doing and how it was all going to work. But my intro to the students is different than it is to the corporate setting of my training earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same stuff. I still was going to talk about what I do, but, for the corporate setting, I'm going to be like, all right, we're all in this together. We're trying to survive virtual training. I've been doing it for a little while. I've learned some things. I got a couple of books. We're going to try them out today, see what you think. And they're like, all right, maybe I'll listen to this chick. But, when we go to the college setting, I was like, oh, y'all are the future. Look at all you studying, what's happening here. And I bet, how many of you love networking? It's your favorite thing. It's the first thing you think of when you wake up in the morning.
They're all rolling their eyes.
None of you raised your hand? Wait, I'm so surprised. Oh my gosh, true story. I'm not that good at it either. Just a different kind of thing. Like, it's the same personality, but it's different approach. You know it all. Yeah.
I know. I don't know it all. I don't know.
No, I meant regarding that. You get that.
For kids. I get it.
And I think that's an element of play. Like, this concept that you're making me think of a new activity. Let's play with our introductions.
Yeah. And I love just that word play, because it's almost like a state of mind in a way. So if we say, what is play? It's kind of hard to nail down. It's being open, maybe. It's that mindset of being willing to explore, open to new ideas, childlike mindset, maybe.
There's so many different ways it plays out. I actually live in Rochester, New York, where we have the Strong Museum of Play here.
Really? Tell me about that.
Strong is the name of it, but the Museum of Play, it is one of the most amazing museums that I've ever been to, and I do go to it on a regular basis. They have events and different things, and they have all the different sections, and you're making me think about, like, there's tons of games, but there's also tons of dolls. There's also just a lot of interactive. I also live in the land of Wegmans. So Wegmans is created here. It's a grocery chain. It's consistently ranked very high in the United States as a wonderful place to work.
I'm from the Midwest. I'm not.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Wegmans, we're all very, very proud of Wegs. We call it here. My kid actually works at Wegs. But there's, at the Museum of Play, they have a whole mini Wegmans that children can go through, and they can role play through going to the grocery store with all of their carts and picking out all the food. It's the cutest thing. And that's like a form of play too, and that's the kind of play where people are learning how to be in the world. And it's little toddlers, picking up the groceries, and they go to the cereal section, they go to the milk section. It's the cutest thing. You go through the checkout line and everything.
So we have that in St. Louis, a little Victorian house called the Magic House. And it became so popular that it's just expanded. It's just like this massive building now. And the new wing is that. It has like a tree house. You can climb up in the tree house, and there's all these little sections, and it's all like a grocery store and an office and a doctor's office. And it's almost like they're trying out a future profession, right? So they want to go make pizzas.
So we learn through play so much. I like
Exactly.
the name of your podcast, what are the layers of gaming? And so much about what happens in gaming is this concept of play. It is quite interesting and you can get into the depths of how we do things. And if we can create that kind of mindset,
yes,
or at least create an environment where people feel, quote, safe enough to just try something, where the opportunities for learning and then ultimately growth are just perfectly placed in front of us. I love that.
So thanks for framing it like that. I really like the way you said that. And I do feel like there's an idea of layering things on. And then also it's kind of like the idea where you're at a lower layer, like discovering something that's always there that we can't quite see. But if we're open to it, we can tap into that power.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I see it as well.
I like how the idea makes it accessible too in different ways, because there can be something kind of overwhelming about, oh, I need to learn a thing now. I need to learn my job. I need to learn my role. I need to learn this new technology. It's overwhelming and people can feel like they're not going to be successful. And so coming at it from the element of play, of even adding in the word game, there's something there that removes those barriers and just says, let's just try some things, because it's pretty normal for humanity to learn through play. So it's interesting to explore it and to create the kind of environments where people can be that way.
So I want to ask you, when you were in your heyday of virtual training, what was your go-to activity that felt like play to you? Or what was one of your favorite learner-centric activities that was your go-to?
The first one that comes to mind is my Image Connect. It's the easiest one. It's easy because it's easy in the execution. There aren't a lot of rules, and you don't have to spend forever setting it up. It's super simple. You just bring up some images, and then you have a question connected to the point. And instead of answering the question, they need to choose which image would help them to answer that question.
Okay.
There's a lot of different ways to frame it up, but the easiest one is which one resonates with you regarding the current status of your team or your project or yourself. It just opens up so much conversation for people. I was just with a friend last night. I went to his workshop and he did this. He usually opens with a question that says, what's a great work day for you? You've had a great work day, and what would that be? Talk to your neighbor. Well, what he did as an alternate is he put up 8 different images, and he said, which one of these would best represent a great work day for you and why? And I asked him after he ran it, what was the impact on the answers? And he said he got a lot more depth, a lot more energy. People immediately picked and went for it. There was less time wasted on trying to figure out what they were supposed to say. And then he said when he was also debriefing after he brought everybody back, he got so much more information from people than what he would normally get with just the question itself. So the question was the same, but to provide that additional level of inspiration. And there's sometimes even people go, none of these pictures resonate for me. I wish there was one that had this. And it's completely fine how that kind of thing happens too.
I love that. That free association.
It's so interesting. So it's a pretty much solid go-to for me because it can be used in so many different ways. And whether that's a beginning or a check-in or even a closer, it always works. Kind of blows my mind, actually. I
like how it's kind of using that visual receptor, right? To kind of, it's just a different way in. It's shaking things up.
Yeah. Cool. And on that note, because I'm always thinking about accessibility, it's really easy to provide the information with the alt text and have people be able to refer to it in different ways. And I usually will put numbers, so we have different ways to reference things.
Nice.
So it isn't only that you have to view it, but we have such a wide way that we can make it accessible to whoever might be with us. It still works. And actually, when I contributed to that recent book, Design for All Learners, that was the chapter that I contributed, how I took my favorite activity and made it accessible even more than it already was, and like what areas where did I have my own quote blind spots, if you will.
It's 100% on my list. I haven't started
it was cool to be part of that, actually.
So just to wrap things up, if I asked you right now, other than a cat or dog, what would be your favorite animal? to put you on the spot.
I love it. Well, I live in an area in upstate New York, Western New York, where there's lots of little furry creatures in my backyard. And right now, there's little foxies. I call them foxies. And
Okay.
I love them. We have red fox. And I just think that they are so beautiful. And I have cats, and I love my cats. I also think dogs are wonderful. But to your point, the fox is a combination of a cat and dog. Like the way they act. And I have the great honor of seeing these little kits out there playing, and they are so sweet and lovable. And then at the same time, they are so wicked and just incredible with the way that they speak and vocalize. Foxies, I think they're absolutely stunning little creatures.
That's fantastic. And yeah, I definitely can see the love of foxes being something you would have. If we're thinking about games, and I know you're not huge on learning the rules of games, and I can relate to that. But with all that in mind, do you have a favorite game or something you like to play the most?
I do enjoy the board games where we have to lie, or like Balderdash. I'm very good at it.
Okay.
The ones where you make up stories and then there's like an element of performance that goes with it.
Okay.
I do like those ones where I have to be deceptive and try to convince people, because I feel like they're a lot about playing a role, and I do enjoy those. So you'll find me playing that type of game here and there.
Okay. So it definitely connects back to the performance and the theater side of you, I think. And then where can people reach out and connect with you if they'd like?
I'd love that so much. Very easy to find me at KassyLaBorie.com. And you'll also find me quite active on LinkedIn as well.
Well, I'd just like to take this moment on air to thank you for working with Betty Danowitz on creating the Loki series with her podcast, because it is basically my favorite learning and development podcast ever. So that was kind of your idea, and I want to give you props.
For one, I'm so honored that she thought it was a cool idea and that she took it and ran, and she got all these really smart people to be part of it.
So awesome.
It was so fun. And I talk about it all the time, too. I am nothing but honored to be part of that. And there's a part of me, too, that's like, I gave her that idea. How cool is that? And then I get to meet cool people like you. And that is just the kind of thing. Let's play with how we're going to relate to learning and development. She and I were just hanging out. We were both watching that series and texting each other the whole time we're watching it. And Loki was being annoying and not listening to anyone. And I said, Loki is like every learner. And then there you go.
Well, I had just gotten through Loki when that one popped up in my feed. So it was just also really good timing for me, I think, and resonated with me heavily.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, it's ultimately what brought us together, too. So I'm thankful that that happened.
Well, likewise. Thank you so much for your time, Kassy. And I'll see you when you see me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of GameLayer. This is David Colmer reminding you to stay present and never postpone joy. You can find transcripts of the show at gamelayer.fm. GAMELAYER.fm. Theme music by Caleb Willits. Thanks for listening. Now go, play.
I play chess.
I play Scrabble.
I play fauteuil. I play everything.
Hide and seek with my kids.
I play the piano.
I play board games.
I play guitar.
I smash it on the pitch.
I play chess.
I play Othello.
I play all the Marios.
I play Success Strategist.
I play Street Fighter.
Final Fantasy.
I play games of my own invention. Games of my own invention. Games of my own invention. Games of my own invention.
There are many ways to play. Going for a walk together, doing nothing together is also playing. Anything that can cultivate your feeling of joy, relaxation, where you feel more recharged after doing that thing. And I think you can consider as something that we play with. I'd like to move to the domain of play